We'll be sending you a recording of this. I hope it's okay. And then for those who, signed up and things come up and maybe they weren't able to join, it's a nice way to get them the information. So thank you for letting us record. I'm Katie Dorn. I'm the co-founder, one of three, and the CEO of EmpowerU. And we're going to be talking today about social emotional learning at tier 1 and 2 for middle school and how EmpowerU can help you serve students and in a turnkey way. Just a little bit of background on the company and myself. I am a school counselor, a licensed school counselor, and I'm also a counselor educator at the grad level and a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also the parent of 7 grown children and 2 grandkids, so I've had a lot of life experience. And this is something that's been in development for a long time. We started with 2 other clinicians with expertise in mental health, really looking for a better way to help students learn the resilient skills they need to navigate hard things. We did a lot of research from 2015 to 2018 and really looked for an integrated, evidence-based way, incorporating neuroscience and CBT and strength and wellness to really support students to make change. We did a lot of beta testing and we launched in Minnesota and K-12 schools in 2018. And because of our great outcomes, we've received funding to go nationwide. And now we serve districts and students across the country. This past year has been hard. You guys have lived it. We're hoping this year's a little better, off to a little rougher start than I think any of us anticipated. But the collective trauma of the past year has certainly impacted educators and students alike. And we know that when students are struggling because they're in a state of stress or fear or their emotions are triggered, it's hard to learn. And really, we're a program about learning because in the end of the day, we want students to become self-directed, confident learners. And so that can overcome their barriers that are mental health or social emotional. The key thing, and we spent a lot of time here, is to really develop a program that's not a heavy lift on staff or need for additional hires. We know you guys are busy and tired, and we've really talked to our partner schools and trying to develop something that works, that's data-driven, and that isn't a heavy lift. So we'll be digging into that today. I don't know if you guys read yesterday in the DA just about this whole mask bullying thing, that, our world is divided, and and kids come to school, parroting what they hear their divided parents at home saying, and it's between critical race theory and mask wearing. There's a lot of stress this year as well. I think we were hoping it would be different, but we know that social emotional learning is more important now than ever. And it's our belief as an organization that social emotional learning can't just be taught. It needs to be applied and integrated so students can learn it in a way that they can access it when they're triggered. We teach students in our course about Dan Siegel's work, Flip Your Lid, which is really fight, flight, or forget it. But in the middle school brain, we teach them about the brain, about their upstairs brain, where their prefrontal cortex is. That's where their inner coach lives. That's where they're able to access their learning. They can learn here. But when their emotions are triggered, when they get stressed out, their downstairs brain, where their amygdala and hippocampus live, take over. And and their upper brain just checks out. And in order to access skills when you're in a heightened state, you need to learn them in a way that connects the head and the heart. My son is a middle school math teacher, and he repeats and repeats and repeats math, and you can do that with math. And in order for it to really be connected from the head to the heart for social emotional learning in a way that's going to impact behaviors, impact skill and resilience in the time of stress, it needs to be integrated and applied to their life, to their goals, to their situation, so they can move forward and know how to navigate it. There's not a program out there that can get rid of, ADHD, student trauma, home life issues, anxiety, depression, whatever the student's dealing with. But teaching them to cope with that, teaching them to navigate that. If nothing else, 2020 has taught us that life can be unusually and unexpectedly hard. And our job is to really walk beside students and help them become self-directed learners that can thrive in the face of adversity. If one of you, I think someone must not be muted. So if you're not muted, if you can just double check the little noise feedback. So I'll say that again, self-directed learners that can thrive in the face of adversity. We empower students with skills that help them build resilience. And this is key, that despite their circumstances, often no fault of their own, often unfair, the one thing that they have the power to take charge of is their thoughts and emotions. And that can make all the difference in the world on the next step they take forward and the next step after that. And that is what our program is about, is creating movement towards resilience and confident learners. And we do that really, really well. We teach students about the think, feel, do cycle, and that they can intercept that in any order to think and feel better. Not only do they have thought control over their thoughts and emotions and can take charge of those when they're difficult and painful by what we teach them, but we teach them a lot of strategies and actions that are reinforced throughout our course and throughout by their classroom teachers so that they can take small steps. They can disrupt a negative cycle. When they start to get triggered, they can notice it and they can use a calming tool and they can refocus so they can choose a better thought and a different emotion. This is something that our students master. And again, this is what puts them in charge of their own thought cycle. And they feel confident to intercept this and change the course on their own, sometimes with the help of their team, but they know how to ask for help. This is the core concepts through that are woven in throughout our curriculum. And if they look familiar, they are. They're aligned with CASEL standards, with most of your state, high school, and CEL standards, and with national health and wellness standards. And I'm going to go over these quickly, and we'll follow up with this with a scope and sequence. It goes into our delivery of this in a more integrated way, as well as we can send you a course sampler so you can dig into some of the curriculum if you want to learn more. But the first is self-identity and awareness. This is where we teach them about charge, which is their internal locus of control, and that they can use their strengths and their values and to take charge of their thoughts and emotions, and they can identify what they want to be different. And we help them set goals and identify their barriers in that first step of things that they want to improve on. Motivation and habits. So a lot of students say, yeah, I want to change this, but they don't know how, and that's normal. But we teach students how to make change. We teach them, we've broken down up here, the trans-theoretical model by Prochaska and DiClemente and the stages of change, and we've made it really accessible for students to understand that in order to make effective change, it happens small step, day after day, and that they're in charge of that. And we teach them strategies to do that. Inner coach is basically our CBT, neuroplasticity, learning, which really teaches students about their brain, like I said, and that we're wired for those worried, persistent thoughts because of our survival instinct, but you can choose more helpful thoughts instead of I can't, I'm dumb, nobody likes me. We can, with the help of their inner coach, they can reframe those to things like, I can try again, I can ask for help. Not positive thinking that your brain can digest, but helpful inner coach thoughts that can really change the trajectory of a student's day. Emotional regulation is really under them taking charge of their emotions and their thoughts and understanding what their triggers are, how emotions are sending them signals and how they're feeling in their physical body or their behaviors. And they can disrupt a negative cycle by using those do strategies that they learn. And they're in charge of those and they feel confident and better because of that. Just as important, we help them realize that painful emotions can be difficult and a lot of students think they need to power through or not feel them. We teach how that hurts them in the long run. And by learning how to identify them and process them with our 4-step strategy, which they master in the course, that they can feel better and be more healthy. And community basically is just understanding who's on their team at school and at home and in their friend group, how to take empathy, how to build empathy and meaningful connection, and most importantly, how to ask for and receive help. And students master all 5 of these skills through our curriculum. One of the real differentiators about EmpowerU is that we're data-driven, and we work really hard to give you outcomes. It should be no different for social and emotional learning. What is the impact that a program is having on student behaviors, both social, emotionally, and academically? We have partnered with FastBridge and the Sabers and My Sabers program, which is a universal screener, which can be used to help you identify students and where they're at when they start the program, and as an exit when they complete the program, and also to help measure long-term impact. But even if you're not working with them, we're agnostic. We can work with Panorama or any other program that you're working with, or just your basic attendance grades and referral data to help you really measure the impact of your program on your key indicators. But along with that, we've developed our own data set that we use pre to post assessment, and we share with you on an individual student data. This is part of the MTSS. When I was a school counselor, one of the things that was hard for me is often that the reaction to students that started struggling with social emotional behaviors or mental health barriers was to accommodate and fix. And like I said earlier, you can't make these lifelong trajectory and challenges go away for students, but you can teach them to cope with it. Rather than accommodating, why don't we teach them how to cope? And that's what our program does. And so at the very beginning, they take an assessment based on the trans-theoretical model by Prochaska and DiClementi, which helps them identify where they are right now in emotional, personal, social, and academic areas of their life. With the help of our program and depending on their tiered level, sometimes a coach, they are able to then set a goal in each one of those areas. What are they most motivated to change? What do they want to work on? How do they take what they've learned in each lesson and apply it to this goal? At the end of the course, we give them that same assessment. And what we've learned is that students usually start here. They're thinking about making change. They want to, they just don't know how. Day by day, with this integration and application to their own challenges and goals, they're able to make progress tiny step by tiny step. And at the end of the program, we give them an evaluation, the same evaluation tool. And students on average are going up from contemplation to actively working on the goal they set. How this compares to what is a standard for Prochaska and DiClementi's, this is a kind of a gold standard in measuring behavior change. One step up in goal area is considered significant. And students who complete EmpowerU are going up almost 2 steps, complete stages of change, pre to post, in all 4 goal areas that they set, which is why we've received the funding to go nationwide. Another thing that's important to note is that we know that what you want, the goal is to have students at tier 1 without the need for additional supports, which are more costly. They take them away from classroom learning, and they come at a high cost to the student and the school. Students who complete EmpowerU, both at tier 1 and 2, 94% of them are able to stay or return to tier 1 without the need for additional supports because of the progress they make. 93% of students make significant pre to post gains also in confidence and mental health screen, well-being, and 98.5% of students would recommend this program to a friend. We also can work with your school to cross-pollinate the results with grades and attendance. This is important to us. If we can interface with any tool you're using to say, what is the impact on the students' attendance and grades? I'll tell you that we know from all the work we've done with thousands of students in many schools is we have a positive impact on both. This allows you to use some of your title dollars and truancy dollars to pay for this program because we can prove that we're impacting that. EmpowerU builds competencies K-12. We have an elementary program as well as a high school program, but we're going to talk specifically today about the middle school program. The middle school level, we have 3 options. We have a tier 1 classroom teacher delivered curriculum. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. We have a tier 1.5 online. It's a 6-week intervention for students who are beginning to show that they need support. It's 6 weeks, twice a week online to be used during that target time that a lot of schools have built in. So instead of going to targeted reading or targeting math support, they're going to social emotional target time, where they're supported online by one of our mental health therapists in applying what they've learned here to their goals and challenges. And then tier 2 is a more comprehensive online program that's 33 lessons, 12 weeks for students who are at higher risk. I'm going to walk through each one so you can gain some more understanding. First, the teacher-led. Basically, we've done a lot of, at the middle school level, we know a lot of you, and if you can put this in the chat, I'd love to hear from you. If you have an advisory time where you're trying to really have your teachers connect with students on these concepts. Like I said, my son is a middle school math teacher, and they do have a social emotional learning curriculum at his school. And admittedly, he doesn't do much prep for it. He doesn't feel confident or comfortable delivering it. And so he says, like, he goes through it really quickly and then moves on to something more fun for the class to do. And we've heard this from districts time and time again. So we really were dedicated to trying to deliver something that was consistent, so students were getting a universal, equitable solution, but involved the teacher that was really plug and play for them. So basically, as at this level, middle school, you get 12 plug and play classroom lessons per grade per year. They're turnkey and delivered from our portal, and they require no teacher prep. And no teacher prep, I'll say we provide training. There's like a 20-minute Zoom call that they have to participate in, and then a 10-minute online module they have to complete. So it's about 30 minutes all to get them up to speed. And then basically each day they're going to do a group lesson. They open it up and have to review it for like 5 minutes, and they project it on their screen. We make it super engaging. We use charge and animated character, who's their internal locus of control. We use digital characters and scenarios. It's scripted, but not like some other products where it's a boring PowerPoint and a script the teacher needs to read. It's really plug and play. So they can walk the classroom through the lesson in about 15 minutes. It's integrated. So at the end of that lesson, 12 to 15 minutes with, some activities that are scripted, the student then has the time to take what they've learned in the group lesson and apply to themselves through some journal time. We provide journals, or you can get a PDF and post it to Schoology. But at the end, that's really the important time. The student needs to take time to take what they've learned and apply it through reflection to their goals and challenges to fuel their growth. Really important key differentiator. But we know that once every 3 weeks isn't enough over the course of a school year. In order for students to really keep this fresh, there needs to be practice. So we provide the advisor teacher with daily 2-minute calming tools that help them reinforce the core concepts that they can use in their advisory time each day, or at least 3 times a week. So what they learn in that classroom lesson, we break it down into 2-minute little things they can practice in their advisory time, at least twice a week. They can every day if they want. We also provide them with journal prompts so that they can have additional writing time and reflection time. And again, it's plug and play. So it's a consistent delivery. We do have data pre to post that we can show impact. And again, if you're using a screener or any other tool, we can use that to measure impact as well as cross-pollinate this with grades. So again, this is a teacher-led. It's probably our lowest cost, easy to implement, and doesn't require a lot of training. It's not too late to implement something like this in your school for this year if you're looking for something. We also have something that doesn't require the teacher to do so much. This is an online embedded program that can fit into an existing advising time, a virtual advisory time, a health or PE course. We see a lot of districts kind of embedding this with health or PE, but it's more online. The student signs on to our portal. They complete a 20-minute lesson that carries them through the mindfulness, the concept, and that application reflection piece. When they're done, there is a mental health coach on our side who then serves as the instructor. Just like you wouldn't have your math teacher teach music. Again, like I said, my son's not really equipped to go and read a student's reflection and really provide them with that support to connect the learning to their heart. That's our expertise. So we come in and make that connection and that support each week at Tier 1 for these students. Give them a grade, give them feedback, provide that encouragement they need to make that important connection. And we give you all the data. So at this tier, they get the curriculum, you get the training, you get the support, and you get the data pre to post. Where a lot of schools have the biggest gap and where we often start with districts is at Tier 2. We know that you may have a Tier 1 solution. You may have something that you as a counselor are already doing, or your team's already doing, or your advisors have already bought a curriculum. That's great, but there's still a need for more, and we can work in concert with those programs. We have a Tier 2 targeted support program for deeper learning and for students who have higher needs. How this works is that district purchase intervention seats. We have a starter pack that's really easy. Might give your school 20 seats for the year, or your middle school 20 seats. And at your student support team, as students come up throughout the year that are struggling with these barriers, anxiety, depression, whatever's going on in their home life, trauma, you're able to enroll them in EmpowerU, and you make it part of their school day in a guided study, in a guided advisory target time. They spend 20 minutes per day really focused on their mental fitness. And each day, whether they complete a lesson or not, they're getting support from EmpowerU coaches. We're the ones who are showing up for them with no other agenda other than to make that student feel seen, heard, valued, and respected, and help them with accountability take that next step and that next step and that next step, so they can really provide that transformation from a place of fear and stress to confidence and resilience. We provide at the middle school level, credit isn't important, but because we're aligned with National Health and Wellness Standards, it can be a credit-bearing guided study or advisory for the, as an incentive for them to do this work. And we provide you again with all that data pre to post. So it's a really comprehensive program, and the goal is to give you that data as a documented tier 2 intervention to provide through your MTSS an intervention that's social emotional, that's evidence-based, that's data-driven, and that can return that student with the skills they need to tier 1 without the need for more escalation. We also have an Educator resilience and self-care professional development, both a 20-hour and a 4-hour version that teach you the skills and strategies to use that we teach to use with all students, but also it has a self-care lens. We know it's been hard for educators, so it's helpful for them to reflect and say, how can I use these on my own life so that I can cope better, because we know there's a high correlation between educator well-being and student outcome. We make it really easy for you to implement. I know that there's a lot on your plate. We've worked hard to make this turnkey. Each school gets their own toolbox, which really goes over the program, what you've purchased, and it's really easy to have talking points for your educators to learn about the program, for students to show them videos and tell them about the program, to talk to parents about the program. And at tier 2, there's a short intake form when you refer a student as part of the MTSS program. Once you refer a student, you have access to our student portal. And at any time you can log in and see a student's progress in the program. You can see here, this is a tier 2 student. You can see the progress they're making, their lessons completed. And more than that, it's really easy for you to see what the student's learning. Each Friday, our EmpowerU coaches for both the weekly coaching and the daily coaching take the time to really loop in whoever referred them to the program so they know where they are in the course from progress standpoint, but more importantly, what they're learning, what they're struggling with. So you can loop in and provide that support. You're still checking in with these students. This collaboration is key. Most schools tell us that through these comments, through this back and forth between our coaches and your referring staff, that they're able to go deeper and have more meaningful connection with their students. It's a really powerful program, and it's live for you. I'm going to stop right there. We're almost at 2:25, and I want to leave a couple minutes for questions and follow up about next steps. At the end of this, you'll be getting a copy of this recording, a copy of this PowerPoint, the scope and sequence, along with some pricing for some starter kits that make it really easy for you to know how much it would cost to implement this at your school. I'm going to stop sharing and see if there's any questions or comments, or from those of you who are on my team, if you have any thoughts or things to add that I missed. Any questions? We know there's a great need right now, and we're really excited to talk with you further. You'll be hearing from your sales rep. We'll be in touch, and we really appreciate your time. Have a great school year. Stay healthy, and we'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
Thanks.